Yeah.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. It was properly posted on May 18th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of April 24th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
4 through 8 are the consent docket.
Move approval, consent docket.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Would you show me voting no on 7 and 8?
Oh, I'm sorry. Was there individual consideration? You want me to go back?
No, just show me voting no is fine on 7 and 8 on the consent, on the routine items. Did somebody approve that? I'd like to be shown voting no on 7 and 8, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So noted. Is there a question, though, you think we need to consider?
I don't think the contract with regards to Invest Trust is no longer valid. I think rejection was inappropriate by Empower. The rejection of Empower was inappropriate, and I believe both of those are inappropriate expenditures at this particular time.
So you think Empower is running is administering the fund?
I think somebody should be administering the fund. I don't believe Invest Trust is administering the fund. I don't know if Empower is, because you voted them down. But at this particular time, I don't believe Invest Trust is. I intend to vote no until there's another.
I don't understand that at all. This board is a board that recommended the contract be retained with Invest Trust. And then when...
And I'm saying that I think that was inappropriate, so I'm voting no.
Oh, you think that the 5 votes to retain Invest Trust at this board was inappropriate?
I think I spelled that out to Mr. Prater in the letter. And so I'm just showing me voting no. So when there's some type of litigation on it, nobody come after me.
Well, item 7 is to pay for the fees.
I can't hear you, ma'am.
Item 7 is to pay for the April fees, which has nothing to do with the contract. Except the one that's currently existing under the current fiscal year.
I didn't know I couldn't vote no on something. What's the harm? I mean, you got a majority of the board, what do you need my vote for?
Well, I think I'm personally following up to make sure it's a legitimate vote. If you're concerned, if you're bringing that question up, then...
I've been concerned since the bids came in, yes, sir. And I have a right to disagree with the district attorney with regards to her opinion, don't I?
I didn't say you didn't, Bob. I'm just trying to ask for my cover. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you might change your mind.
All right. The DA, is it okay that we vote to approve this, in your opinion?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It passed with the PD voting no on 7 and 8. Item number 9, Martha Burke. Is it all in order?
Move to approve it.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Denard Pendleton. I'll move it. He's a longtime District 2 employee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
11, Catherine White. All in order?
Move to approve it.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then Mary Black, item 12.
Move to approve it.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Danny.
Right.
So you good back there, Ray?
Yes. I understand it just like it's posted. All right, we ended the month of April with $398,451 in the forfeiture account. Projecting out the last 2 months, we anticipate we'll have approximately $101,000. That's after we take out the $400,000. I will say this board voted back in March to take an additional $400,000 and redirect it to the DD plan in May, which would happen at the end of this month, obviously.
Could I ask you
Yes.
how you're estimating for 2 months, $134,000?
Yeah, it's based on the average for this fiscal year. Just took the average for the first 10 months.
Okay. So if we just did January, February, March, and April,
The average would be
we'd be
considerably lower.
substantially less, and
Yeah.
have only 70-some-odd thousand.
Yeah, it's an average of 67,000. Now, again, we're moving 400,000 out, and there's only 398. I did check with InvestTrust. The current balance as of Friday in this account is 449,307. There are the mutual fees that are coming out in May that have not come out of that number yet of 16,000. So,
16?
yes, sir. So we're going to have about 433,000. So if we take the 400 out, it gets that balance down to about 33,000 with 1 month left.
Did we already voted to
Yes.
take it out?
We did.
So unless, and there's no agenda item to not take it out, so as a practical matter, all this is informational, is that correct?
I do, I want to point here that there was, at the point when we were looking at this, it had to have the 400,000 in order to pay the 400,000. And that was part of that motion back a couple of months ago. And I sat here and said, what if there isn't the money? So we,
That was last month, yes, sir.
yeah, it was. And it said if we didn't have 400, they wouldn't move 400. They're going to have 400 so they can move 400. So that was the point a month ago. We did make the point that if there wasn't the money there, they were not going to take it. And they would have to come back to this board and adjust. And according to Danny, then you're telling me today that there is the money in there.
Yes.
I really don't like it getting down that low, but how much we know.
Move approval of the report.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item 14. Butch, do you want to talk about this?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, this is a process that we started some years ago. This would be a one-time defined benefit stipend. That would be $700 per participant. We had actually originally started at $600 in the last 2 to 3 years. The motion was made, and we have funded $700 stipend per participant. And again, these are for our defined benefits participants. And the dollars themselves, $88,900 would come from the defined benefit fund. And you might recall that was the money we looked at back on item number 6. So with that, I'd move approval.
I'll second.
I'd like to be honest. In October, we had a presentation by our actuary who said, in his opinion, it was not appropriate to give additional cost of living and may amount to a breach of fiduciary duty to, you weren't here, Butch, you were in Hawaii, but I
No,
specifically
excuse me, I
asked
wasn't in Hawaii.
wherever you were in October.
I was in Shawnee.
Shawnee?
I don't know what I said.
You probably got that same suntan too.
This was an air show.
I mean, basically, we're sitting here, we're down to about $35,000 in the forfeiture account on defined contribution. The county's gonna have to put in a substantial amount of money if we're gonna pay that amount of money. I just do not believe it is a fiscally sound decision to do it this particular time.
And I disagree with that. We currently have roughly $6 million in our defined benefit. If a defined benefit, is that it actuarially sound? Yes, it's actuarially sound. Is it enough money? I don't know. Depends on longevity. The defined benefits, that's what a defined benefit means. So I think that it certainly can, out of $6 million, it certainly can be supported. I think it's something that our defined benefit retirees, since there have never been COLAs built in, I think our defined benefit retirees, this has been our effort to try to help them out with, quite frankly, without a COLA, but at the same point to help them out with inflation. So I think it's a sound move, and I think it's one that's, I know it's well received, obviously, and I think it's one that's important to our defined benefit retirees.
Ed, what do you think?
Well, since I'm one of the recipients, well, I think it's a good deal. And I know a bunch of these people that will receive the $700, and it's appreciated by them. I'm president of this little organization over there that we meet the first Thursday in every month, and there's approximately about 50 of us, and we appreciate it, and it's a good thing for them.
Well, I have no doubt that they appreciate it. Do you think that there's going to be another infusion from the budget board?
I do. As I recall back, in fact, I think the last time that you shared this and you expressed your concern on that, I do. Yes, I do.
And how much do you think it would take from the budget board, Bob? I mean,
If we can't put in $800,000, I think it's gonna take about $1.2 million to stay actuarially sound on this thing, or to only be 45% funded of where we were last year.
The budget board just adopted the budget, and in that budget is $400,000 going into the defined benefit plan next fiscal year as well, to match what was put in this year. So that has-
But we put in $800,000 out of this fund,
yes,
and it seems very unlikely we'll be able to do that next year.
You just said out of the general fund, there's 800,000.
400,000.
I'm sorry, 400,000 out of the general fund. Mr. Chairman, I'll call for the question.
I don't know if there is a second. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Item 15. From Nationwide?
Yes, you want me to
Right here.
stand up?
Yeah.
Appreciate the opportunity to address the board today. I'll give you some brief history. Well, first, my name is John Archer. I'm the state director for Oklahoma for our public sector retirement plan business. You may have seen my name on paper in the RFP last fall. I was not here for the finalist presentation. Going back just a couple weeks, we were asked, and I believe this is an annual effort by the board to renew the 457 contract for Nationwide. We extended each one-year period at a time. We were asked a couple weeks ago to provide an update for that plan document. The plan document hasn't changed. My understanding that went through your attorneys, and that they had some questions about receiving some information with updates in the plan document with respect to our fiduciary position with the 457 plan. And my response at the time was, we don't take a fiduciary position with the 457 plan. There's a lot that goes along with that, and maybe I'll start at a really high level. So the high level fiduciary is acting in the best interest of somebody else. When you dig down a little deeper and you look more specifically at retirement plans, that usually falls into 4 categories. And that's usually process, administration, documentation, and investment management. And I think from my experience observing this group, the investment management piece of the fiduciary is generally considered to be the hottest topic, maybe the greatest source of conflict. And that's come up, I think, more recently with the Department of Labor pending fiduciary ruling and some things that are changing that don't directly impact the 457 plan. But at any rate, going back to our answer that we're not a fiduciary of the plan sponsor being the county would be the plan fiduciary, we still don't leave you hanging. There are lots of things we do for the plan. And I kind of sent Mr. Wilkerson the kitchen sink last week. I don't know if you want to pull up any of the links and look at any of that information, but one of the things we do specifically to the investment management perspective on an annual basis, we call it a global mapping. And that first item, non-ERISA fiduciary requirements, if you want to fall asleep tonight or any night, open that and take a look at it. But we've got some smart people in our home office. This is what they do. They do research, they write papers. So it's an opinion paper. But there is some good information. It even covers state laws and some things that are in effect in Oklahoma. But within the fiduciary role and non-ERISA plans, there's a lot of talk about how governments are basically exempt from a lot of those requirements. Because that's how you are in existence as a government. You're not accountable for those things. So to dig down a little deeper, one of the things we do within the 457 plan on an annual basis, we review the investment menu. So if you look at our 457 menu, There's an attachment in there that shows the plan level statement. There's about $500,000 nationwide, about 45 participants. I believe the investments, there are about 36 investments in the plan. And you can keep going down, I'll wait. Keep going down. Yeah, it's right there. So that's the plan statement. You can see a breakdown of the investments in the plan, the assets in the plan. We are constantly monitoring those investments. And on an annual basis, we go through an exercise. If there are investments that are underperforming in their category, or if there are investments that are particularly heavy in a given segment, we'll send out a letter, and there's a copy of that letter. That letter actually just went out last Thursday. So you may not have even seen it yet, but you'll see that soon. There are a few funds that we're getting rid of. I think PIMCO, Total Return is on the list. There are a couple large cap funds in the large cap growth category. We are heavy right now in the large cap growth category, so we're trying to shrink that down a little bit. We take care of the participant communication, we take care of the plan notifications, so we notify you. But going back to the fiduciary question, are we making that decision for you, or are we seeking your recommendations to make those changes? And the answer is we're sending this to you so that you can make the decision whether or not you want to follow along with the proposed changes, or if you want to tell us that you don't want to follow those changes, or at any time you want to throw those investments out completely. You always have the option of doing that.
So what you're saying is it's kind of how you define the word fiduciary. You guys are doing the screening of the individual investments and making a recommendation to the retirement board. And you have to act with due diligence in a fiduciary. If, in other words, say one of the funds, which is a total disaster, you have an obligation to this board, a contractual obligation, to notify us immediately of that. Is that correct?
I would say we don't, but I would also say we wouldn't be in the business that long if that was our approach. So if I think completely selfishly, and I say Nationwide's in the business to make a profit, then if we're going to be profitable, we have to offer a quality menu. But ultimately, when we send that notification to you, we're seeking your approval to either keep it the way it is or change it. Part of the program that you have in the conversation last week kind of talked a little bit about the NACO. This is a National Association of Counties endorsed program, so you're getting an off-the-shelf solution. So there is some oversight with NACO. We meet with NACO. We go over these proposed investment changes for the year, but ultimately we're sending it to you to tell us if you want to do these changes or do something different. You could contact us at any time and say, we don't like any of these funds, get rid of them.
You all notified us, though, suggesting that we get rid of certain funds over the years.
Correct, yeah. It's an annual effort. I think maybe 2012, 2013, we didn't have any changes, but yeah, over the course of time, sometimes it's one fund, sometimes it's 10. But the communication is, at your discretion, we can go through with this, or we don't have to. We're administering your plan for you.
So we could say no. So
Yep.
like, for instance, years ago, I think we had, in our other plan, we had Neuberger Berman, and they recommended that we get rid of Neuberger Berman, but we felt we shouldn't get rid of Neuberger Berman, so we said no. Is that the same thing that you guys are doing?
Same thing. Yes, you always have the discretion for the menu. One of the things I'll also say too is, in part of being supportive of the plan, we have a product that's been out for maybe 2 years that fits well within this $500,000 space of the 457 plan. It's an investment co-fiduciary product. So Morningstar comes in, Morningstar picks the menu, they're the investment co-fiduciary. They don't step in for the other responsibilities of the fiduciary, but from the investment perspective, they step in and they pick the lineup start to finish. And the communication that they send you is, we're changing these funds, not do you want us to change these funds. They're telling you as the investment co-fiduciary that they're changing the funds. And I say it fits within the $500,000 space. It's designed for our smaller plans where maybe the dollars aren't available for an investment consultant or seeking fiduciary insurance. I know that's an agenda item today. So it fits with a $500,000 plan, maybe even up to, I might even say $10 million. It makes sense in a standard plan, but for your defined contribution plan, you've got more economies of scale, it wouldn't make it much sense. That information is also included in this package.
How much does that Morningstar, cost?
There's no direct cost, so we actually changed the menu around a little bit. Even with this menu, our revenue comes from mutual fund payments from behind the scenes. We also apply an asset management charge. In that co-fiduciary product, the asset management charge is zero. We still make our money from the mutual fund revenue, and then part of that covers Morningstar's costs. But they'll actually step in as a co-fiduciary in the event of a lawsuit or proposed breach.
What would you have to do to get that as part of the contract?
It's procedural, so I think it's even a 1 or 2 page signature that we can go down that path, and then, again, we do the communication to participants, your plan is changing. The biggest trade-off with that is the rate of return on the fixed account is different. Right now, I think one of the best benefits about this plan is the 3.5% fixed account rate. And I think if I look at the assets, it's $140,000 roughly of the $500,000 are in the fixed. So they'd be trading off a lower fixed rate.
You would lose some on the fixed rate?
Yeah.
So in other words, you're paying for it one way or the other?
Yeah, we can pull different levers on the plan. So we can always drop the rate, we can reduce variable costs.
I guess the other option would be to let the participants no longer participate, they go to another plan. How long have we've had Nationwide and or PepsiCo, but about 25 years?
I think it's 25, 30 years. It goes back to the 80s, yeah. So that's always an option. That conversation actually came up a couple weeks ago too, was at the risk of you not renewing the contract if you choose to terminate, and we can work through that as well. We hate to lose you. But
So you'd allow anybody to roll their money into an IRA or whatever?
usually with a plan termination, you tell us what you want to do with the assets. You could always stop contributions, but you're still the plan sponsor, so that doesn't really eliminate the risk completely. I haven't seen a case where you would terminate the contract and then force liquidation. So it would just be a matter of maybe looking at people in the plan. Are they current employees? Are they retirees? Are there other options? You put them in another plan. But termination usually doesn't solve that short-term problem.
Questions? Is there a motion? Everybody thoroughly confused?
I move we receive the report. I think that's what this is, it's just a presentation, right?
Second.
For this one, yes. All right, all in favor of receiving the report, say aye.
Aye.
Now, for the action item to it.
I think what they're doing is the exact same thing that InvestTrust does. I think we're sitting there playing games with this word fiduciary. I think we've been playing games with it. I don't care one way or the other.
That might be a first.
I don't know that InvestTrust, we're talking 457s, I think we had, who was it that we got a report from last month? Which 457 was it? Virginia, was it yours?
It was InvestTrust.
Was it? Okay. How many 457s have we heard from? Just InvestTrust? Okay, I'm getting
When
him
we
off.
brought their agreement back on the board's agenda, they added the same fiduciary language that's in the DC plan.
Okay, so they will be the fiduciary.
Yeah, they copied the same DC
For
fiduciary.
purposes of making recommendations that the board accepts or rejects, which is what he told us they do.
So that's the same type of fiduciary you are.
He doesn't want to use the word fiduciary.
We do not take any fiduciary role with the plan.
And they serve as an advisor.
Yeah, I think this may be rehashing what came up in October, but when we bid on the business for the defined contribution business, we offered to bring in Iron Financial as a co-fiduciary. Again, the fiduciary term is very broad, and I think if you're focused on the investment fiduciary component, there are a lot of resources to get assistance at.
But I didn't understand, Bob, I don't understand your comment then, that it's the same thing as InvestTrust. If the Investrust contract, you're telling us that 457 contract that's on here later, there is fiduciary responsibility in it.
You are the fiduciary for the plan. In other words, is that what you're saying?
For investment advice, yes.
For investment advice? What do you mean by that?
The advice that we give you as the board, we can't just change the plan investments without bringing it to you guys and getting approval.
Okay, just like him?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And you do it the same way, you use kind of a Morningstar program or whatever to kind of filter, and then you come to the board and say, this is a bad piece of, this is a good piece, is that correct?
Yeah, I would say we have our own proprietary process, but right.
Right. And if the, in your definition of fiduciary, if the proprietary process says, hey, get out of this fund, you're going to come to us and tell us that.
Exactly right.
And that's what the fiduciary duty is that you guys do.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, calling it fiduciary or not calling it fiduciary is really irrelevant if they're willing to do the same thing, right?
We're willing to do the same thing
As what he said he did.
well, yeah, I think the difference is us saying we're a fiduciary and them saying not. I don't want to pretend.
No, that's accurate.
I'm sorry.
What he's
One
saying is
says you're
accurate.
fiduciary,
I think they will stand up and say, we will be the fiduciary for your plan from the investment management perspective. And we are not saying that.
So they're not the same. Well,
That's what it sounds like to me.
It's whether or not they're willing to step up and formally acknowledge that they're acting as a fiduciary or not. So legally, to me, the difference would be if you get entangled up with a participant who says, retirement board, you picked the worst plan ever. You should have been looking out for me. This board would look to Nationwide or Investrust and say, it was your offering, what's going on here? Their defense would be, retirement board, you picked it, you're the fiduciary. Investrust is putting itself out there legally and saying, oh, we agree, we step in, we're a co-fiduciary, and we accept responsibility. Am I saying this properly?
Is that correct? So you're willing to accept responsibility or liability as far as the
choice, the offering. So if you embroiled in litigation, Investrust would be standing up with us together, explaining why ABC investment option was not a ratty, poorly informed decision. Nationwide, on the other hand, is going to say, county, you picked it. You're the fiduciary. We really weren't in that role. Now, I'm sorry, but I would argue, yes, you did, because you picked your lineup. But what's going to change potentially, and I don't know when exactly they thought it was going to happen last month, but the Department of Labor is going to establish a rule that it all changes. The fact that you've got it in your lineup is a fiduciary activity and fiduciary role, correct?
For Department of Labor plans, so 457 plans are exempt from DOL, so the fiduciary doesn't touch us yet.
Okay.
But I think from a best practice perspective, and what you're commenting on is case law that doesn't exist yet. So we don't have the benefit of that case law where somebody has said in a 457 plan, as the record keeper and administrator, are you the fiduciary, and does it go to a jury trial? Where does it go?
Yeah, so he's saying I'm more of a record keeper rather than an investment manager, even though I'm selecting the lineup. It's Board of Trustees' responsibility. But he's also saying we've been in business for how many years? We wouldn't remain in business if we offered up poor options. So you're right, Bob. We're playing a game here, whether we're going to proactively stand up to the plate and say, yes, I'm a fiduciary, or no, I'm really not. But I'm hearing that both companies are trying to do the same thing, or making the same offering, or just providing the same level of service. Am I correct?
Right, and then to to have the specific response that InvestTrust has, we could look at converting to that Morningstar plan. Morningstar would serve that same role that InvestTrust is serving because they're picking a line.
But you're not currently doing that.
Correct. Correct. Morningstar is not involved in the venue currently.
But, so how are you making evaluations on, which funds to be on if you're not using the Morningstar stuff?
So we have an investment management group internally.
So internally you're doing it?
Yeah, so we're looking at, are they performing in their category? What are their fees like in the category? PIMCO's had a lot of questions about the manager recently, so that's part of the issue there. And again, if the plans aren't growing, if the investments aren't growing, people aren't going to participate. So if we're not offering quality choices, then people are going to go choose to invest with InvestTrust or somewhere else.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Did you say the county has 45 participants?
I think it's 45. I have to double check. I can
Okay.
get you more statistics.
That's all right, just a general fabulous. If, in the event, the retirement board opts not to continue with you, would the county be creating a taxable event for these employees?
No, not immediately. And again, usually a termination, it's a 120-day termination. There's some things that are a little goofy with the fixed account on a payout at a plan level. But usually you're telling us to move those assets somewhere else, whether that's to consolidate with InvestTrust or somewhere else. So you're not giving up being a plan sponsor.
Okay.
As long as there are assets, even if it's $1, you're still a plan sponsor for the plan. So if you create that distributable event by saying, we're terminating with Nationwide, you have to take your money out, I think there's greater risk in doing that for you than to try and find somewhere else to put it. Does that make sense? I don't mean to be squirrely on the answer, but
No.
you can terminate the plan and just say, hey, you could stop letting people contribute to the plan tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then the assets stay where they are. I think last year at this time the plan was like $750,000, and there were just a few people who retired and took money with us, so smaller than it was last year. So you may just choose over the course of time that you stop contributions. As people leave, maybe they find their own IRA solution, or they go elsewhere. But normally you don't force a distribution before participation.
So we could freeze it for new investors?
Yeah. Yeah, that's common if you have a multiple provider scenario. You may want to work a deal with one provider and you say, all right, we're not going to force people out. They like the fixed rate, for example, but as people retire and move on. Or maybe you send a letter and say, for all active employees, we're going to do X. We can participate in that.
And with this particular plan, all the fees are paid by the participants?
Right.
All of our First 57 plans are like that, are they not?
Is there any action?
If we don't approve the contract, what happens? It just stays, the money just stays there,
Yeah, that's
and then there'd be no
I call
more
it a county.
contributions?
Yeah, I'd call it a county exercise. This is part of your effort, not an effort that we require. We have an evergreen contract with the county that doesn't expire. So if you terminate the contract at any point, then that's the tipping point.
You have an evergreen contract with us.
Right.
Okay, that's what I thought. So this is not a contract that we're being asked to approve. This is just a discussion to allow them to continue to exercise their contract, which is an evergreen contract. And I don't know, well,
And
anyway.
just as a side note, usually we review a plan document from Nationwide, and that's what I attached or sent up to the DA's office for approval. But since it didn't have that fiduciary language, I was told, it wouldn't be approved. So that's what kind of sparked all
No,
this.
that's not what I said. I said that a board member didn't want to see it come back with that language. That was Bob's request from last meeting.
Yeah, so and my response was, well, there's no language to approve. And it's still a current document from a legislative and regulatory perspective, but it's not going to state anything there.
So as a practical matter, if nothing is signed, it stays the way it is, but nobody can contribute any money, is that correct?
That would be up to you. That wouldn't be up to us. And we'll receive contributions as long as they come in.
I don't think we could take that action without, certainly we're gonna have to get a lot of information out to the 45, and I'll assume for a moment that the 45 is the correct number, but that the 45 current employees who are currently investing in Vest Trust. So we're going to take an action, if I understand some of the discussion, to tell them that they can no longer invest their money in Invest Trust?
No,
That's
it's nationwide.
I'm sorry, nationwide. My
But can I
mistake.
add something else to food for thought?
Yes.
You have several other 457, plan providers of Nationwide and Invest Trust, and those agreements haven't been submitted yet. So if you're going to treat Nationwide one way, you have to treat the others much the same. So John can tell you what's outstanding, but I'm just letting you know that you may be whittling down your 457 options by whatever you do today. John, can you tell the board what's outstanding?
The only one outstanding is the Mass Mutual agreement, and from my understanding, it falls in the same one as Nationwide, they can add a bolt-on service that assumes some of that fiduciary role. Is that correct, Virginia? And there's no cost to, how's that paid? Okay.
I did not hear a word of that. What was your response?
It's very similar. We have a third party manager that takes over the co-fiduciary, but there's no cost to you all. Mass Mutual has waived any of the costs of this program.
So you have bought on a third party?
And they,
Not now.
Not yet.
and they will not reduce the fixed account for that.
So there's no third party, to clarify, the current agreement, there's no third party with Mass Mutual currently.
What, you both referenced some potential, I understand this is not a DOL plan, but you both, Council, you referenced some changes that may be coming along the pike within the next month or two.
They expected it last April, Butch, but I don't think it occurred. I don't think they know now with the new administration what DOL will do.
Yeah,
But they
it
were-
was suspended.
So it's not the
Trump suspended it, so it was initially going to take effect in April, and now it's, I believe, June 9th. It's a proposed date. There's a possibility that that would still kind of kick the can further down the road.
Yeah. And if the rule occurs, it's going to sweep up more record keepers into the fiduciary role, right?
Right. I would also say that more financial advisors, anybody providing advice is going to be part of that group as well. So it changes, maybe not the scope of providing advice, but scope of compensation and how you interact with people.
And would it be appropriate to defer this item? We're talking, possibly in early June, possibly by the time we meet in June, we're going to have more definitive guidance from federal regulations, is that correct?
Not with respect to public sector plans. The Department of Labor does not
I got you.
oversee
I
public
got
sector
you.
plans, so I don't see any short-term impact with our plan.
Well, you also have the same thing that Empower was trying to do, and they were trying to affirmatively get themselves out of that potential rule by saying, we're not a fiduciary. So, who knows? It's coming out.
So then the decision really is ours, is the fiduciary responsibility important enough to this board on behalf of our employees? Is it important enough to this board that we're going to require that, and if they can't fulfill that, then we're not interested in them? Is that correctly stated?
Yes, you've come along without one for your 457s forever. Now it's kind of come to the head, but yes, that's true, but both companies offered you an option, and that, John called it a bolt-on, which I thought was humorous, but Nationwide saying Morningstar would be acting as a fiduciary, so you'd have another level at no cost. I think there is
Could they
a cost.
At no cost, that was my real question.
Right. Yeah, it's similar where the menu changes, participants still pay all the fees. Actually, our fees go down, the fixed account rate goes down as well. But Morningstar steps in the
That's one of the reasons why people have your deal, is because of the fixed rate and the high fixed rate, because it's twice what Invest Trust says.
Yeah, it's above
So
market.
basically, it would go down lower.
Correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it's a lever we pull. We can change all sorts of fees. We can change menu. We can add co-fiduciary. But it's how do we pay for it?
And if we did nothing other than, is there a way you guys could, if we requested, notify the 45 participants that you're not a fiduciary, but that we're gonna keep it open to at least the 45, but not open it to anybody new? Would that be a problem?
I'm not opposed to that. I think that would prompt a lot more questions.
Yeah, I promise you.
But
What's that there fiduciary, do I wanna buy me one? That's gonna be the question.
maybe we look at a list. I'm happy to do a report and see who's on that list and maybe identify who current and former employees are and where balances are, and who might be most impacted. And maybe that helps contribute to a direction that we go.
Well, does anybody have a sense of wanting to do something about this today? Amy, Jen?
I don't.
So is there a motion to continue till next month, or do you just want to leave it all together alone?
I think we just need to continue it until such times we need to bring it back before the board, whatever.
I'm totally in favor of that.
Okay.
Not necessarily even for next month, but just continue the item. All right, I don't know.
Do you need something approved by retirement board by a date certain?
I don't need anything. We'll continue.
We've always done it just for a record to receive their plan document, so.
Yeah, and you have it, so we've done it. And if I don't get an approval, that doesn't change how we're operating.
So does that mean you do want it on next month's agenda, or you don't?
Well, I like the words that Bob used, is continue it until it's necessary to bring it back up again. Now, it may be safer and more logical to go ahead and continue till next month, and then we'd always have the option next month to continue it to the next month.
Or we could continue it until such time as the member puts it back on the board.
We can do that.
That would be my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, now, Bob, you want to talk about number 17,
I can't really say.
fiduciary?
No, this is to get, insurance. I asked, for us, I brought that up. I don't know if the county clerk's office has gotten us any information on
On item 22, there's an agenda item to authorize the chairman to sign the application for insurance.
I'll wait till we get to 22, then, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind.
Okay, item 18, the approval of the Invest Trust 457 plan.
For next fiscal year,
Yep.
July 1 to June 30, 17.
This is the defined contribution.
No, 457. 457.
This is the, okay.
And that's when they're taking fiduciary responsibility.
And this is the one, again, Invest Trust, you were saying that you do assume the responsibility, fiduciary responsibilities on your 457. I move approval of the administrative service agreement.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item 19. This is about P.D. Taylor's seat on the retirement board. Is going to have a vacancy. And this is to approve the notice and the application for the seat.
So moved.
For the record, this means the filing period would be June 5th, 6th, and 7th, 8 to 5. Withdrawal period being June 9th, 8 to 5, and then the voting locations are listed and will be held on June 15th and 16th from 8 to 5. There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This is number 20, to accept the resignation of John Coburn from the retirement board and to appoint John Emerson.
Could we just show that Commissioner Vaughn's not chairman of the retirement board on number 20? I just want to make sure,
You can be, it's not too late.
other than that, I'll move we accept his resignation and appoint Mr. Emerson.
Is there a second?
Yep. Yeah, because this gets to be important in future discussions. The appointment is the board, the BOCC appointment. What this board is doing, council, is we're receiving notice of this appointment, correct? This is not our appointment. Is that correct?
Did you previously appoint them on board?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I stated that correct, because I think that's an important part of the motion. We're not given the opportunity to vote on this appointment. This board is not given the opportunity to vote on that appointment. I'm not at all saying for or against, but I want to be sure that we understand that, because that's what gets us wrapped around the pickle.
Does everyone understand that?
Am I correct in that? That all we're doing is...
Appointed by Board of County Commissioners.
Yeah, we're receiving the notification of the resignation and the notification of the appointment. Has the BOCC already taken this action?
Yes.
All right, so all we're doing is receiving this news.
Absolutely, there's no question about it.
Okay.
I've never voted for Keith Block and don't intend.
On second thought, I'd like to change that procedure.
Okay, well, I'm leaving. All right.
I don't need to kill it.
All in favor, say aye.
Okay, now, wait a minute, what was the motion? The motion was to receive the notice, right? The resignation, notice of resignation, and notice of employment. That was your motion.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and who seconded that?
You did, I thought.
No, I didn't. That's why I was asking. I don't think you got a second yet.
Didn't you hear him?
Oh, you seconded it? Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Keith, I appreciate it.
Then now.
You failed me, I normally can count on you.
I ain't gonna do that, baby.
All right, now, we have,
So this all approved, this all passed.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. A couple of times. We can do it again.
Keep it up.
All right. Now we have Tom Jenkins, who's patiently waited, and he has a presentation. It says 3 hours. I hope you don't mean now.
No, not now.
Okay.
Sure. I'm guarantee you.
Tell us about what you'd like to do, Tom.
I'd like to thank the board and especially my friend Brian Mon for giving me this time to visit with you. I'm accompanied today with David Hooten and Mr. Kevin Foster. We are all part of a group called Financial Fitness, and David is spearheading an outreach program that we like to call Restoration University. And what we do is offer a 1-hour class a week at the Moore Chamber of Commerce for people to come in and receive information about the 47 principles of finance. First principle, pay yourself, so on and so forth, how to tithe, how to manage your household finances, and then we go deeper into the other 40 different financial principles. What I would like to do is present to the board that we could bring this class to the retirees or to the employees or anybody at the county level and present this class to you guys. There is no charge for the class. The reason for the class is to present the information, and if anybody ever wants to further their knowledge, we do have fee-for-service programs that they can become involved in. That's completely up to the participants of the class. And that's it in a nutshell. Give the information. If they would like to take it further, we can show them how to do that.
The agenda item notes that it's a 3-hour class. Is it a 3-hour class? Did you say 3 1-hour sessions, or is it a 3-hour class?
Normally, it's 3 to 6 hours, the way we do it at the chamber, and I don't know where the 3-hour class came from, but it should be 3 to 6 hours, and usually in 1-hour segments.
I'm all in favor of this, except for the fact that I don't believe it's appropriate to be before the retirement board. I think it's a county commissioner agenda item because it's binding. The whole county commissioner has nothing, or, I mean, it tangentially relates to retirement, but it involves so many other aspects. I think any education that the county gives to employees is a good idea. I don't know what time you're talking about doing it, but if it involved date, time, office time, the Board of County Commissioners would have to approve that. I think the appropriate entity is the Board of County Commissioners.
I agree with that, but I will go a step further. I think it's more than just the Board of County Commissioners. For example, as the elected treasurer of Oklahoma County, it's going to be my decision as to whether or not I feel that I can let my employees during duty time to sit through 3 to 6 hours. In other words, can I free them out of my office for 3 to 6 hours to hear these presentations?
This would be 3 to 6 one-hour sessions. We don't want to disrupt an entire day, if that makes any difference.
That's what I was asking a while ago.
I apologize.
Okay, so these are one-hour sessions, but there'd be 3 to 6 sessions over a given period of time.
Correct.
My only concern is, again, I've sat on this board for quite some time, and I call myself the outside member, because I'm the outcast, because I'm not an elected official. I don't have a problem with getting somebody education, but there is a twist to this at the end. If you guys are going to be trying to, not that you will, or how proactive you're going to be, but you are selling something at the end.
Sure.
Because you wouldn't be doing it for free unless somebody gets something at the end. There's going to be a twist at the end. And this is up to the Board of County Commissioners and its legal team to decide whether this is going to be something they're going to be involved with. The two issues, again, would be, A, you're going to provide it, we don't know how many people will show up, and the intent with you as a vendor, or not a vendor, but putting on a presentation, you are going to ask employees of this county to participate further on past the 6 meetings. And again, that's the deal where the board is now, is the Board of County Commissioners and or this board, which I don't believe is this board's responsibility, making a recommendation of somebody to do something where there's a whole lot of guys out there doing this right now. And I'm going to be the first to say, I see it every day. So my first concern is, is it really something that this board should be doing? I believe not. And the second thing is it something the Board of County Commissioners should be involved in? And that's a decision between the BOCC and the legal, because then you're providing an avenue for people that at the end there's going to be a fee for services that if they want to continue on. It's just like me coming up here and doing a 2-hour free spiel on taxes, and then I come back and say, okay, he'll hand out a stack of business cards, and if you let me do your tax return, there's a fee. I sit on this board provide recommendations and give my opinion on certain things, and I don't go address certain things with each individual member of the retirement community. So I have, again, even if this board, I don't believe this board should vote on it, number one, and number two, if we were asked to vote on it, I would probably vote no. Just because of the circumstances of where it's a fee for, at the end of the day, it's a fee for hire, and we're recommending somebody.
And of course, you wouldn't necessarily have a reason to know this, but we have a funeral home provider that comes, and we have a dietitian that comes, and so we have a series of people like this already, and they do similarly, and then they pitch to obviously go with their service, so.
You do the same thing with the healthcare stuff. I mean, you got 15 people that show up in October and November pitching their product.
Yeah, Aflac.
But that's fine.
I'm just saying
it's the board. I think it's the Board of County Commissioners' responsibility, not this board.
And John, you felt like it ought to come to this board.
I just thought finance, retirement, but ultimately the board needs to decide.
Okay. Well, do we need a motion to receive this presentation?
I move we receive it and we direct the county clerk to notify the budget board to consider them to put it on their agenda.
Not the budget board, the Board of County Commissioners.
Or the Board of County Commissioners.
The LCC.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Tom.
And that's not at all to say that this does not sound very worthwhile. I will, again, being responsible for my function, have to address the issue of how much time I want to have out of the office of my people. But by the same token, that's not at all to take away anything, especially, for example, you gave us a little, very small fee cut of the 10. Principle number 1 is pay yourself first. That, I can tell you, that's a good start. Okay. I pay Bobby first, and then after that, there's nothing left for me. She's my wife for a while.
All right, Dan, now do you want to talk about item 22?
I was asked, John, to contact our insurance broker about directors and officers' insurance coverage for this board. I have done that. They've sent this application back, and it requires the chairman's signature to process the application, asking for coverage options of $1 million and $2 million for each member of the board.
Rate yet?
No, we haven't submitted the application. We can't do that without the signature.
Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion?
What do I do? Do I have to move that the chairman send the application to the company?
Sign it.
Sign that.
I make a motion that the chairman sign the application for the insurance.
Your second.
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Ray.
Come on. Danny,
All
hello.
in favor, say hello.
Aye.
There we go. All right, 23.
I only had one of, I think there's another resolution out in addition to the one that I passed out, but I have concerns that we have not, I think there's a resolution also which requires that retirement plan be bid out every 5 years. It also requires, I think by virtue of hiring the consultant, we met the criteria of this, but I'm not positive. If we haven't, we need to, if the DA says what we did was an effective bid, then it's then we effectively bid it out. In light of the fact that nobody was accepted on the bid, and my understanding is InvestTrust contract is just continuing from last year, that we still have not bid this out. I think the requirements are that we bid this out every 5 years. So I don't want to be in violation of board policies that were established by the Board of County Commissioners. Like I said, I think there's another document that deals with the actual bidding process. But I think we need to follow that advice, so I'll make a motion that we do another RFP. We request county purchasing offices to do an RFP on the county retirement plan.
Any other discussion or seconds?
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Yeah. After the fiasco we just recently went through, I think that now is not the time to be doing this. Bob, you said yourself, did we go through? Yeah, we went through a process. Did it get mucked up? It got mucked up tremendously. I think now to turn right around and redo that, number one is I would be very concerned about who would even be a willing player to come in and submit such a response to it. I think there's other questions that need to be asked before this is done. A resolution is a resolution. I don't know that we're violating a law if, and like you said yourself, you think there's another resolution out. I think this motion is premature, and I will be voting no against it.
Do you have an opinion?
I would take a resolution.
I think there's another one that says we have to bid the process out every 5 years also.
You're the only name left on that.
I'm sorry?
You're the only name left
On this list. Well, then I should have more votes than anybody else.
Some of them are pushing up daisies.
You what?
Some of them are pushing up daisies.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it says.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Review. It says a review, current plan.
I think there's also, if, I couldn't find, I had the previous one, but I lost the other one that said it had to be bid out. I think there's a resolution that says that.
And
That's fine, I don't care, you know, it's only $250,000, it's no big deal.
Bob, those are types of statements that are absolutely inflammatory that I do not think are proper in this open meeting. I will say this, if it's a resolution, then we do another resolution to change this resolution. That's how you change resolutions.
But this does not go to bidding, it just asks that an independent review be conducted subject to available funding, and it's to examine the current plan and compare to other similar plans to check the management fees, and whether or not they're competitive in the industry, whether the basket of investment options is representative of similar plans in the industry, and gives county employees the best possible opportunity to maximize their investment return, and whether or not the extent of services provided are reasonable within the industry and within the context of the current fee structure. And then it goes on to say you could also look at other things if you want.
We also have been talking for years, we're supposed to bid it out every 5 years. Everybody knows that. I can't find the resolution, but it exists. We all know, we all said now, if we consider the fact that we already bid it out and that's it, I'm fine. That's why, and I'm taking it, that's why Butch is voting that way, that's fine. But this isn't an issue whether we should be bidding it out or not.
Okay, any other discussion? There's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is opposed?
No.
Oh. 3-3. There are no other motions on that item, and item 24.
So this item's been declared to have failed?
Yep, then 3-3.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that the item cannot be brought up later. I think the timing is terrible. I'm sorry. I think there's a time and place. I think right now, we've got to get, one of the things we discussed back before about this type item is that we were going to do a better job of putting the parameters in the RFP. Timing is terrible. I'm not going to vote for this till we come up with a better way of doing it.
Well, that's what would happen. We would sit there and we'd come up with a better RFP. If you don't put it out there, you can't get a better. That's fine. It's failed already.
The most important question than that, a far more important question than that is, what type of weight does our recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners carry? We found last time that a majority vote to continue the contract with InvestTrust was rejected. So I think there's a lot of questions that have to be answered, I know in my own mind, before I'm willing to open up this one and begin.
Okay, so then basically we're going to divest our power and whatever power we have, Butch, and we're going to give it to the Board of County Commissioners to decide if they want RFP.
Excuse me. And that's not at all what I said, Bob.
But that's what's going to happen.
I'm through with the discussion. The vote is true, right?
I just think it should, since you opened that up, it needs to be balanced with the fact that obviously we were informed of the parameters as county commissioners about low bid, and we had plenty of testimony before the county commission, which you may or may not have watched, Chief, but we went on the advice of council about what we needed to do with the information we had at the time, which obviously turned out.
Actually, I did get everything, Brian, and I will be commissioner, I did hear about it, but the thing is that we spent 8 hours a day for one solid day listening to all the proposals, and we spent a lot of time vetting it out, and we made a recommendation based on a lot of facts and not just money.
And it was low and best, as every bid in this county is always been.
Yes, I did hear about it, and yes, I got a full copy of your BOCC meeting. Don't worry, I did get it there are people in this county that sent it to me, so I was making it real clear that I have been informed. I'm not dissing the fact that there is a possibility that a new RFP needs to be done. I think before we go and approach that RFP deal, I think this board needs to take a soul search and decide what are those parameters and make sure before I go out and stick my neck out on an RFP again. Because the next time we do an RFP and we reject it, I think this county is going to get its ass kicked. I apologize for using that language, but that's where I think we are.
Very good. All right, item 24. And this is to approve a judgment rendered. You want to take it? You want to purchase it?
Commissioners, I would recommend that we do, again, keeping in mind, right now, Mark, what's judgments paying?
5.5.
Right now, judgments are paying 5.5. We do not have any kind of investment anywhere else in the world, short of a banana republic, where we can get that kind of return. So I would recommend to this board that you do approve the purchase of this judgment.
That's not even a close issue. Go buy some more.
Give us some more judgments, that's correct.
All right, motioned and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any board
We
comments?
need to go back to item number 17, who's gifted. Rabbit item.
Yeah, but what we did is we postponed it to 22, and it was part of 22, was it not?
Yeah, I didn't think there was any action.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
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 So 22.
Yeah. All right, any board comments? Danny, Chad, Keith, Bob?
Nothing.
All right, any citizens to be heard in addition to those who've already heard? Not, any new business? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.